Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. It is time for Moon Shadows, and you know what that means. I am here with the one and only Ona. Hello, Ona.
Hello, hello, hello. This is going to be a cool new moon,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. The
I'm,
last one promised to have a lot of work, and I have been working like a fiend since that last new moon,
yeah.
but
Did you
in a good way, in a good
did
way.
you feel like maybe it would calm down or things get organized as Mercury like goes back into Virgo and says, you did a good job, but let's try this again.
Well, there's that. Yes, 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 yes.
It's
Um, but I do feel like, just in general, like this time, more not so much from the last moon, but even though we're still in the lunation cycle of that moon, because we don't have the new moon until tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the new moon. So we're at the dark of the moon actually in that Virgo. And before we got on, we were talking about all these sort of organizational plans and ideas that we have, because we both understand that there are shifts coming in our lives, and we're
Mhm.
trying to figure out the best way to navigate those shifts. For
Yeah,
sure. Now, with this new moon in Libra, the focus, of course, becomes on our relationships and those themes of Libra, right?
yeah.
One of the things I've noticed, though, is that it seems like, Libra, of course, is justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it seems like suddenly things are going in the way of what is right and what is upstanding and what is true.
Yeah,
Right? It's like you can run and run and run, but you can't hide
right.
from cosmic justice.
Yeah. And
And
that is
that's what it
such a
feels
good
like.
point. That is such a good point because when we focus on the tarot and we want things to happen right away, we know that they're going to, and we're like, tarot and timing is so hard. And here it is, all those predictions, all that work
Yep.
is starting to have its cosmic consequences as the stars line up in the right way, as we were like tapping into their energy, and now it's happening. We're like, yeah, this is Libra season. This is when it was going to happen. Reviewing the all those things that have happened in just like the last 2 weeks.
It's interesting because on the tree of life, the path that is ruled by Libra is called the faithful intelligence.
Yeah,
And it's faith to know that cosmic justice and balance is a thing.
yeah,
And it happens, and it's happening. And I think that it's shedding a lot of light on a lot of dark places
hmm,
that need, and not just politically, not just in the world, but within our own lives, right?
hmm,
um Libra is the point of extremity. We know we start in Aries, and Libra is as far as we can go. So on certain level, Libra shows us the line.
yeah,
And that's why Saturn, the planet of responsibility, the Lord of Karma, the teacher, is exalted in Libra.
uh,
It's most powerful in Libra, even more so than it is in Capricorn in a lot of ways, which is the
yeah,
sign that rules,
yeah,
because it's exalted. It's the highest expression of
yeah,
Libra, is Saturn, responsibility,
yeah,
being responsible, right?
right,
And we just had the conversation before we got on about how we have been, or have needed to be, the responsible person in the
right,
relationships with our mothers.
right,
We are responsible for their well-being, and we're responsible for when it's time for them to pass
hmm,
into the new life that's ahead of them.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. My kid is turning 18 soon. So, and asked me, so, okay, I get this. So like you're an adult at 18, but how are things going to change? In other words, what am I going to be more responsible for now? What am I going to be accountable for now that I turn 18? No. And we went through a list.
Did she like the list? Was she okay with the list?
Thought about it.
Well, that, that's an interest. Did she ask those questions, or did you bring them up for her? I'm just curious.
Ask me. Ask
She
me.
asked you. Wow, that's pretty wise for an almost 18-year-old.
Yeah.
I guess she wanted to know the parameters.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I never had to ask my mother the parameters. She'll still tell me to this day, even though she has dementia. She'll remind me of what I have to do.
Yeah.
Especially for her.
Responsible for what you're responsible for. So yeah, there's a lot of personal changes and a lot of stuff happening this season. It's going to be really, really busy.
Yeah. And this season is a time when the veil is much thinner anyway.
Yeah.
Right? We have the equinox, which thins the veil, and then we have the cross-quarter day of Samhain or Halloween, which is New Year, but also a very, that's why people hear bump in the night when they don't hear it otherwise.
And Rosh Hashanah is tomorrow, also with this new moon.
Yeah.
And the year is 57, I think it's 5783. Yep. Which comes out to a 5-year, which is, we went through the numbers in Kabbalah class about a 5-year for that whole storyline, right? Yes. So that's a big change year.
That's a change year, and it's a choice year.
Yeah.
5 is a number where you choose, you're either going to ascend into a higher realm or you're going to descend into chaos.
Rosh Hashanah 2022. Yeah.
And the new moon tomorrow on the Eastern Seaboard happens at 5:55 p.m. Yep.
And Rosh Hashanah year is a 5. So that's a significant number. That's a significant number. That's really, really interesting. So remember that, right? I have to make sure there's 5 elements on the altar.
Yes.
Okay. I better write that down.
And so I see we're wearing the same color, which is we do not say, hey, what you wearing today? No, we just go with what we wearing. The wall color is almost the same, which is, I guess I never really noticed because we never wore the same shirt. I'm wearing my new peace shirt, because peace is an archetype of Libra, as is war. Some of the best generals have Mars in Libra, because Libra is also strategy. And I was watching Volodymyr Zelensky's address to the United Nations. If you haven't listened to it, and if you guys out there haven't listened to it, it's definitely worth a listen, because he has his Pluto in Libra and his North Node in Libra, and they're conjunct. So he really is, his soul is working towards peace. But peace is not just peace isn't just like we stop having war, right? Peace is that we work towards peace, right? And that's kind of what the new moon in Libra is asking us. It's about, it's okay, we want peace, but what are we going to do to get it? What do we have to compromise? Where do we have to listen? The psychology of Libra is the psychology of listening. And so even if somebody's like we have to listen to somebody like Vladimir Putin and what he's saying, not in his threats about that stuff. Of course, we have to listen to that because if there's anybody likely to do anything, it's him. Most other people are just like bags of hot air, but this guy's a little bit different. But we need to listen to, without saying, well, that's like totally not true, because there's always truth. Like we don't get to this point in a situation just because one side is being bad. There's always a give and take, and it's always and it tends to, come to a head. And I think that in that case, it's coming to a head. And this is a new moon in Libra, and he is a Libra.
Yeah.
So it's going to have it in a way. He's connected to that.
Yeah.
To that energy.
I want to ask you about this.
Yes.
It's the Venus is making a trine to Pluto.
Is that Mercury? Let me pull the chart up. Yeah. Okay, let me do that.
She's the ruler of the moon. She's the ruler of Libra.
She's the moon and the sun, right?
Yep.
She's dispositing.
Yep.
She's dispositing both. So let me pull that up. This is a full moon. We're going to look at the full moon later, and because we're going to talk about that on the moonshine anyway.
This is full moon.
So this is oh, sorry. So this this is the new moon, but I did it with an Aries chart because I just wanted to like point out, because what this chart will do is it'll give us a more archetypical view of the energies that we're working with, because now we see where all the planets are lying in what signs, right? And here we have the new moon here at 3 degrees, 2 degrees, 48 minutes of Libra. You round that up. Yeah. So when we do the Sabian symbol, we look to the 3 degrees, which I have, and we'll look at that as well. And so the Libra in the 7th house is about relationship. It's about compromise. It's about peace. And it's about the work that it takes to get there. Now, the ruler of Libra is Venus, and we have Venus in a very close conjunction. And in fact, in a couple of days, they are going to be conjunct. Yeah. Right? It's an inferior, they'll be conjunct soon, because this is moving forward and this is moving backwards. Mm-hmm. So they're going to conjunct. Both of these, Venus a little bit more than Mercury, is opposite Neptune. Yeah. So this is, it's not just about what we think and what we value, but there's also this energy of divinity or oneness or compassion or delusion in some cases. Like Neptune is a pretty slippery slope, right? Yeah. And it's influencing the ruler of the planet that's dispositing this new moon, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's making a trine, and the trine is very powerful, to Pluto, right? The planet of change and transformation. So there's all of this sort of outer planet energy connected to this new moon. Mm-hmm. That sort of brings in the energy that is beyond our sort of three-dimensional understanding. Most people are aware of Saturn, the limits of their life, where they're going to go, what they're going to do, how they're going to build it. It's those other places when you're using your intuition, or when you're having a dark night of the soul kind of thing, where those outer planetary energies come in. Yeah. To open up really your viewpoint, open up what you can see as possibilities. So, but it's in its way disruptive, because and then of course Uranus is still on the North Node, so that's continuing, right?
Where Venus is ruling also,
which is absolutely.
And we can't even see her in the sky right now to say thank you.
Right, because her and Mercury are under the rays of the sun.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this Venus, love, relationship, Mercury, communication is happening in the dark,
Right.
is
Right.
happening in the dark. It
Right.
takes a lot of faith, right? And Libra is the faithful intelligence, right?
Yeah.
It takes faith. Um, and then also we have Saturn here, which can't ever be left out of the party because Saturn rules pretty much what we get to do as when we're incarnate,
Mhm.
making this lovely trine to Mars in Gemini, which is, we have Mercury here in Mercury. So Mercury disposits Mars, right? So there's this. I almost feel like this new moon has the energy of like things clicking into place,
Mhm.
and it's going to take us to a place that maybe we don't even expect. But
Yeah.
I think it's the place where we've been preparing to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think we've
Yeah.
been in the preparation of that. And then the last thing I want to point out, and then you certainly can make any comments you want on this, the fact that Jupiter in Aries is opposite, very close opposition.
Right after the new moon. Yeah.
Right, but even
4 degrees.
with
Right?
the, I mean, this is 350, May 340,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
this is a degree.
Right.
There's a degree, and so the next day we have the opposition of the Sun to Jupiter, and that happens on 3:33 p.m.
Okay.
So that's two. Those are triple numbers. These numbers that come up
Yeah.
with this,
And
right?
look at those portals, but look at the time span also. I'd like to have things ready for the new moon, but this new moon energy doesn't just wane after this conjunction. The moon just moved into Libra. It's like a new moon day for about 24 hours.
And then it's also because I think the new moon is happening at the beginning of Libra. This new moon maybe even it really influences the time that the Sun is in Libra,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And the time, is, I mean, certainly you could feel the shift as soon as the Sun moved into Libra.
Yeah.
Um, things started to shift and change right after the Sun moved into Libra,
Yeah.
and we didn't even have the new moon yet. So we're definitely, and I'm reminded of the other day when Letitia James, who, by the way, is a Libra
Is she really? Is
with
she
her
really?
north node and her Sun conjunct in Libra.
Get out.
I kid you not.
Wow. See, I pulled all those really cool sword cards in that reading yesterday. I didn't know. I like doing it cold and without knowing. That's
Right.
amazing.
Yep.
That's really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her season.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know that she's 63?
No,
Yes. She was born in 58. I know she looks like she's 35 to me.
I swore she was younger than me. I'm like, you go. Wow, what a career you got ahead of you.
Right. She's ready to retire.
She looks a lot younger than me, and I'm 57.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, we didn't do the shirt thing, and honestly didn't know that we were going to match like this.
How
That
Libra of us.
Yeah. Well, thrift store by Geronimo.
Hey, I got this. It was on sale. I got it for half price.
Yeah,
It's one of those life is good shirts. Mostly I can't afford them because they're so expensive. But this
no,
one was
yeah,
like half
no.
price on sale. I'm like, peace. That's me, baby.
Yeah, you can't really sneak anything new in this house. It's got to be from used or from a thrift store, hand me down. only. We're strict about that.
Well, you know, you're utilizing resources that are already there. Why
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's true. That's true. I just, I don't mind some things you want, like, you know, that are on sale and they're new, but my
Right.
kid's pretty strict about not buying clothes in department stores ever.
She's a kid of the future for sure.
Yep.
To the future.
Use all those resources is how that's going to work. Definitely. So this is a really, really powerful time. Now we say this all the time, but this is a really powerful new moon that's going to like stretch into Monday, right? It's going to just sort of prolong its
Well, because I think we have the new moon and then we have Jupiter
the
making
opposition,
an opposition, right?
and then the
to
sun's
the
going to
new
oppose
moon.
it. And
And then, well, the moon opposes it for the moon will oppose Jupiter on the same day as the new moon. And then the sun opposes Jupiter. And then there's something else happening, right? It's like three things in a row. Let me see if I can.
oh,
Yeah.
Neptune is making a sextile to Pluto, while Venus is making a trine to Pluto. Does that make that a grand trine?
A grand trine between, what is it, Pluto?
Venus is making a trine to Pluto.
No, it's a sextile. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, Venus. Yep.
And Neptune, because they're kind of opposite each other, is making a sextile to Pluto.
To Pluto, yes.
It's not a grand trine.
No, it's not a grand trine.
Okay, no. I see.
All right, so let me see. Oh, okay, so this is what happens, because I have it right here. We have the new moon. The next thing that happens is Venus, the ruler of the new moon, makes the exact trine to Pluto. Then Venus and Mercury conjoin. Then the sun opposes Jupiter. So we have the new moon on tomorrow, on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then Monday, super active. And then Thursday, Mercury makes the trine to Pluto. So this whole Pluto, Venus, Mercury, Neptune, right? But then we have the oppositions. And then on Wednesday, Saturn is exact with Mars. So we have both Venus, Mercury, and Mars getting activated. It's almost like they're getting their marching orders, or they have their marching orders and they finally get to do what they've been told to do.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like to me.
I think when Venus moves into Libra at some point, when she gets closer, it'll be a little bit smoother. You know, it's just this sort of, it's kind of a tension time. It's a tension time in relationships, which is a part of the new moon themes too, right? The relationship with others as seasons change and we're moving, you know, people are going to be inside more. Certainly in the States, we'll be inside more as, you know, it gets colder.
Well, certainly in Chicago.
It
and
is.
New England.
It is. It's like preparing for hibernation sometimes.
Yeah. This is my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
I love this time of year. So this is the new moon in Libra. This is the Sabian symbol. The dawn of a new day reveals everything has changed.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth? Hasn't everything changed?
Yeah.
Yeah. The ever-present possibility of beginning again on a new foundation of values. That new foundation of values is Taurus, Uranus in Taurus. Uranus conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Right? What was that? Right at the end of August, or was it the end of July and the beginning of August? It was the end of July and beginning of August.
I think it was the beginning of August. Yeah.
Or wait a minute. Hold on. Let me think. Yes. Because there was the new moon, I think, on the 28th.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that period of time now and coming to this period of time, everything has changed in that. Everything has gotten turned around. Things have been revealed. Things have been, even the turnaround in the war in the Ukraine
Yeah.
is that expression of turning the corner and look, like what Libra does is Libra says, all right, let's look, right? So you have Aries here and your moon, and Libra gets over here. And it's like, all right, what are we looking at here? What are we
Mhm.
looking at here? What can we do to keep the balance, to keep the peace, to keep,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we can see that on that side. And then the keyword, oh, so the ever-present possibility, oh, I said that.
Yeah.
Keyword innovator. So this is a new moon for innovation, innovating your life. What innovations, how are you going to right? And this is actually the chart, the one that we're looking at now, same chart, only it's for the United States. And so for the US, we have a Pisces rising. That means the ruler is this Neptune, making the opposition to all. Neptune is opposing all of this, really.
Yeah.
It's wide to the new moon because it's like 10 degrees, but it's still there,
Yeah.
still within orb. So yeah, so we're really sort of getting an eyeful around what we believe,
Yeah.
getting an eyeful of what are we here to learn about?
And I think getting an eyeful also of what we've been um subject to in terms of delusion, like
Yeah.
we're becoming more aware that some of these social media platforms are garbage. We all know that half the news stations we watch, doesn't matter what side, is just a pile of junk. We're getting more illuminated with the sun that some of this stuff doesn't exist. It's fantasy. It's a storyline you can jump into or not.
Yes, that awareness is key because
Right?
that's the awareness that's going to give you inner peace.
That's the sun and Neptune opposing each other. Going, you know what?
The universal year vibration for 2022 is a 6. 6 is the Lovers card, right? The Lovers is about choice. You
Yeah.
have a choice about what it is that where you're going to put your energy. What
Mhm.
do you want to invest your time and money into? What do you want to invest your life into? Life is short. We
Yeah.
don't get that much time on planet Earth. And I think that's one of the things that 2020 really brought forth for us
Yes.
is everybody got to like stop for a moment. Not everybody, unfortunately, the people who had to
Yes.
work at the grocery stores and the nurses and the doctors who were getting
Yeah.
inundated. I mean, not everybody got to rest, but
Yeah.
there was a stop and people reevaluated,
I'll
like,
tell
what
you
am I
what.
doing?
If I could remind you that I was saying that things happen in my life to prepare for a critical event, and COVID was very similar to me getting cancer. It was like when COVID happened and we needed to go on lockdown, all the things I did when I had to go out in public or have people come over wearing the mask and blah, 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 because I was neutropenic, all that stuff resurfaced. I'm like, okay, we got this. I know what we have to do.
Right.
I know what we have to do. I'm ready for this. Not really ready for this, but yeah, the isolation made people think, and so did cancer, the same thing. It made me think, what the hell was I doing?
Well, and I think that COVID in its way was a mini cancer, right? A
Yes,
mini cancer experience.
totally. Yes.
Every person that I know who's had cancer and who's had to come through the other side of it
Mm-hmm.
have reevaluated, like, what am I doing? Like, what is important
What
here?
the hell are we doing? Yep.
Right? So yeah, so that was kind of like a little, yeah.
And
So
they're
it's a
calling it the Great Resignation. And, there are more people that want to go off grid and start their own things and be independent. So it's really interesting. That's what you do.
right, right. And we have to remember that at that time, Saturn also made the conjunction to Pluto.
Yeah.
And Saturn in Capricorn, which is a very powerful sign for Saturn. And every sign in Pluto's in is a powerful sign because Pluto is power. There's a certain amount of becoming an adult in your own, like Capricorn is about maturing, and I think
Mhm.
we all had to mature and take responsibility for ourselves, whether it meant wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or getting a thing, whatever it meant to you, whatever taking responsibility was for your own life, it was up to you. Now, of course, we had help because we live in a country who helped us, which was nice, right? But still, we had to like reevaluate kind of our place in the world and what does
Yeah.
success mean? All of that with that new conjunction of Pluto and which that conjunction of Pluto and Saturn is often seen as a very well. We always have some sort of uh,
Yeah.
what was COVID? What would you call that whole
Like
thing?
like a world event or a
Not
pandemic.
pandemic,
There,
like
yeah, I saw
some
that
sort of
series.
disease, pandemic. So last time they came together was 82, and that was AIDS.
Yeah. Yes. I saw that series, the Tarnas series with,
Right.
how that sort of, he just beautifully displayed that synchronicity between what's happening with Pluto and how and why we assign Pluto all this responsibility is because it shifts everything.
Right. It's total and utter transformation, but not just death. It's rebirth.
Yeah.
And
Scorpio.
so that 2020 was, in its way, a rebirth for us to become more responsible. If we're responsible for ourselves, we don't need as much government. We
Yeah.
don't need as many prisons, right? We don't need that stuff. And so, of course, with Pluto in the sign of structure since 2008, all the structures of big business, education, banking, government, um, uh, uh, military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex,
Mhm.
all of these large, like, we're seeing stuff. People are becoming aware.
Yeah.
And because of that, of course, now they're going to try to like rein everything in. But because of that, people are thinking differently and seeing differently.
Yeah.
And we needed to do that. We needed to get over the hump of the reality that we had been in for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And readers kind of are always on the edge of that anyway.
Hmm.
So, right. And the Cassandras, you
Yeah.
and I, as oh no, wait a minute. I remember at 19, I was trying to convince my mother and anybody who would listen to me that Ronald Reagan was the Antichrist and it was the beginning of the end. Nobody listened to me. They're like, what do you know? You're 19.
Hmm.
You don't know anything. My mother said, oh, he's so good in the movies. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that just sort of reminded me of that. So if we look at Venus, which is the ruler, right? We look at Venus at 26 degrees of Virgo. That's where she's sitting for this new moon. A boy with a censer serves
Hmm.
the priest near the altar, the first stage of actual participation in the great ritual of planetary evolution.
Yeah.
And we are
Saw that in
evolving.
the Ovomancy too, a boy with a sensor.
Right. And look here, the vibration for the day is
Yeah.
the Page of Cups.
Yeah.
This reminds me of an altar boy, right? The boy
Yeah.
with the censer. Who's that? The altar boy. Who's this? The altar boy,
Yeah.
right? So it's the beginning because we're dealing with, and incidentally, this is Donald Trump's path of life. What are
Yeah.
you looking for?
Oh, surprise.
So, huh?
Surprise.
Well, it is a Pisces vibration,
Mhm.
and 4 is about building. Pisces is about nothing. Building on nothing. Um,
Water.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Atlantic City, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
all right. So let me try to I can't get out of here. Hold on a second. Stop. 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 All right. So let's talk about the altar.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had the past few days, and I think I mentioned it in one of the morning videos, this lapis has been coming into my head. And honestly, it wasn't until this morning that I need to gather it up, right? I need to gather it up and get it ready for the altar. And I could only find the one piece that I had. I know there's more somewhere, but I did have jewelry beads, and I have those in a little toolbox, you know, in my studio there. I had exactly 12 lapis beads that they're pre-drilled for jewelry. So I put this together, not so much that I could wear it as a bracelet or anything, but just to sort of have with me as a soothing sort of prayer bead. You know, when you have to, if you're just kind of nervous, I thought it's almost like a rosary kind of thing. And it'll be on the altar. But the lapis it came to me because for the most part, it's this gold, it's kind of like a lightning that I think about this new moon, and that's what I see. Almost like the center of the fulcrum of the scales, but it's gold and it's lightning, and it's blurry. And I think of the lapis stone because it's one of the ones that has pyrite embedded in it.
Right.
And
Right.
it's got a gold thread. And then it turns out that lapis is really appropriate for this new moon because it's about communicating and communicating clearly. And Neptune, the opposition, communicating to those sources that we can't see.
And from those sources, perhaps, that we can't.
Bring them in. Bring them in.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, of course, lapis is very sacred to the Egyptians. The Egyptians, of course, had the god Maat, which is M-A-A-T, which was the goddess of justice. And I'm wearing my Maat earrings.
Yeah.
And I put on my lapis pendant when you mentioned lapis.
Yeah.
And lapis is sacred to Isis. Is sacred to Isis, the Queen of Heaven.
Yeah.
So it is a powerful, it's a powerful psychic stone, lapis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
like when these things come, it's almost like, and I think this would be a kind of a neat thing to try for the new moon also. It's like when your body is craving something that it needs, right? Like, oh man, I can drink like a ton of orange juice right now.
Right.
Well, maybe there's something in that vitamin C or vitamin D that your body actually needs at that point. Before I got sick, I was craving steak, and I never eat steak. I'm like, man, I could eat a big steak right now. And it was because my blood count was so low.
Right.
And I do the same thing with the new moon and the full moon. I'm like, what is it that what's the craving? What do you, and it came up lapis. Like this is what satisfies the craving. So for what we can offer this new moon.
Well, and of course, Libra is connected to the kidney, which is about balance of
Filtering.
filtering
Yeah.
out the toxins, but it's also the balance of the electrolytes. So
Yeah.
this is an especially important time to pay attention, especially to things like not so much hunger as much as thirst, I think. And then maybe unusual foods, because you might need more potassium, more calcium, more magnesium, more, you know, those micro
Yeah.
nutrients.
And Venus and Virgo is lending that hand to, this is what your body might need right now.
Or this is what you need to heal, Virgo as well. Or what do you need to heal so you can find more balance in your life? Of course, the new moon in Libra is going to ask us to find balance where we need it. And depending on where you have it in your chart, can also indicate, if you have it in the first house, you may need physical balancing. If you have it in the second house, you may need financial. If you have it in the third, you need mental balance. In the fourth, you need balance within your home. In your fifth, the give and take that you have with children, right? Or your creativity. In the sixth house, balance around, you know, your physical health. If it's the seventh house, it's asking for balance in relationships, which in the case of the actual chart for the United States, that's what it's asking, balance in relationship. Eighth house is balancing your shared resources, your finances. Ninth house is balancing your perspective on life. 10th house is balancing work. 11th house, balancing between yourself and your friends. And then the 12th house may be balanced to find between, because the 12th house is a very sort of private place, between the private and the not so private parts of yourself. So somewhere in the zodiac, though, that, so you would have to know your ascendant to know that, and just know your chart to see where it falls. Where does it fall in your chart?
I have to look, honestly.
I'm trying to think of where it falls in my chart. Hold on. Wait a minute, I'm thinking. I think it's my third house, actually.
Fifth.
Oh, so your kid, you and your kid, finding
Who's
balance.
turning 18.
Right. And you're your mother's kid, and there's that side of things too.
And my mom, and my relationship with, you know, her, and how, you know, the end of life care.
Right. Mortality. For me, it's in my third house, which is my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And my mind. So I have to find more balance in my mind, which I've been doing a better job of. Michael is really good at that. He'll tell me when I'm going to, like, he'll say, "You're watching too much of that stuff, Vicky," and I'll be like,
okay.
And I'll get pissed off, you know, because nobody tells me what to do. And then I sit back and I go, okay, let me think. He might be right about that. And then I go do something else.
Yeah. It's nice that you can have somebody kind of snap you out of it. If I get in that state, I have to think, I've spent a lot of time. I never wear a watch. I used to always wear a watch. I never wear a watch, but I look and I think I've spent enough time procrastinating on that rabbit hole, right? Everything's a rabbit hole. And
yes,
get back to, this is what you need to have done today. And this is, sometimes I have to make a list and make sure, especially if I'm starting at one direction, working my way back, or, you know, whatever, I need to have everything written down, because I'm going to forget something. I always do.
it's okay.
Maybe,
You're allowed. Can't remember everything.
Maybe the Lapis will help me remember, at least get you in that sort of alignment. But that's how I definitely feel about this new moon. It's got a gold thread. It just does. There's something golden about it. We'll see.
Well, one of the other things that Libra represents is our higher self. And that is the gold thread. Our connection to our own divinity is met in Libra. We meet the other, but the other is a reflection of us. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just about one of the things you could do with this Libra new moon, if you wanted to, is do some mirror work, because it is about reflection.
Yeah.
It reflects the I am. And so that may be something, or you might want to put a mirror on your plus the mirror is a symbol of Venus, right?
Yeah.
Venus always looking in the mirror.
That's so interesting. I'm just sort of like all in my head about that, because my mom looks exactly like what my grandma did before she passed. So I do like snap a picture, and I've got my aunt, you know, getting a hold of me, and I send the picture, and I said, you know, go and see her. But does this remind you of, you know, when Nona died? And my mom looks exactly, it's such a reflection. The reflection thing is happening. Like, I see my grandmother in my mom, and I see me in my mom.
Yeah. When I spend time with my mother, I'll often look at her and I'll see her sister, then I'll see her other sister.
Yeah.
All these people have passed, but I see her face in their face, their face in her face. And I know that it's like a hologram. It's like we don't really go anywhere. We just, our focus just changes and we go into a different space. And so all of that comes with us, you know, and it's all part of us, and we never really lose anything. And I think that that's important to know at this time, that, you know, it's eternal. We're all eternal beings.
Yeah.
Just where are we focusing in this moment of time? Where's our attention going? And
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it has to go to our mothers who are making the transition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I just talk about my great idea about you, me, and our mothers? So Ona and I were discussing, you know, what we have to do for our mothers as they pass. And
Mhm.
my mother, of course, being the grand dame that she was, wanted a big funeral and a big, you know, and all that stuff. Well, she's out of state from where she's going to be laid to rest. And that is a huge financial burden that I cannot
Yeah.
bear, let's say, right? The best thing for me would be to have her cremated, which would probably horrify her, but you know, she left me in charge, so I'll have to deal with that. Um, and I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool because then I could take her wherever I want to go. And then Ona was talking about, you tell your side. I want to tell your side of the story.
I have made that decision to cremate my mom because well, she wanted to be in a drawer in a mausoleum next to her parents, and there's no room and there's no way I would visit the cemetery on a regular basis. But she was, you know, she came to this country only because my grandmother made her marry my father, or she could not come here.
Mhm.
So they got married and they came here. So she was on an adventure and got locked in to a very controlling relationship. And the best times that we ever had as mom and daughter were when after she had divorced my father and we went on trips together and we had just fun. Like we got up and went somewhere, or, you know, I was living out of state and she came and flew in. When we were independent, and she said, in just living the life of being able to get up and do what you wanted to do, she enjoyed that so much. So she's coming with me everywhere, everywhere.
So Ona and I said, wouldn't it be fun if we did
Yeah.
like a road trip and brought our mothers along with us in their little coffee cans?
And documented it
Yes.
with them with us on the road, right?
Right.
And do it and go on an adventure. This is what she always wanted to do. And she learned to drive, but she didn't drive for very long. She didn't drive very well. And she didn't ride.
So it was a good thing she didn't drive for very long.
Yeah. And it was just that sort of almost Stepfordy.
Yeah.
Kind of make sure everything, you always look good and the house
Yep.
always looks good, and you know, it doesn't matter what kind of horrible disaster is going on in there, you step out pretty and everything looks like it's okay.
Yeah. My mother's would, when she could say it, she would always say, people ask you how you're doing, just tell them good.
Yeah.
Because if you tell them you're not doing good, they'll revel in it. That's what she used to say. She didn't use the word revel.
Don't
saying
look weak. Well, that one, no, she's a Leo rising. So that whole don't look weak, don't ever look weak.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I know. I have that Leo rising. I know exactly what that's like. And I had a mother with 4 planets in Leo who drove it home.
Yeah.
Drove it home.
Left marks.
Yeah, quite a few. So this was a lot of fun. Hopefully you all got something out of this. And so Ona and I are gonna do you want to look at the full moon just as
yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna look at the full moon because next time you see us together it'll be for moonshine. Yeah, and we'll know a little bit more of what we were talking about today. So let me pull that up.
Yeah, so we'll take the moms on a road trip adventure.
All right. So this is the full moon,
That's right.
in Libra, right? Yep, here we go. So this is interesting. We have this Venus in Libra, conjunct the Sun in Libra, opposite Chiron in Aries,
Okay.
and the Moon in Aries. And look at Jupiter. Jupiter is right about where the new moon was, backed right into that second degree, right? It was at 3 degrees, 3 degrees. So close enough.
Yeah, it's at 3. Yeah.
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 Yes, sir. It promises to be very enlightening. Let me see what it looks like.
It'll be cool because Venus is in Libra there and so close to the sun. You know, yeah. It's always got to be a Chiron showing up somewhere.
Well, you know, it's interesting because Chiron conjunct the moon is like wounds around nurturing or not getting nurtured. And then we have the sun and Libra, the sun and Venus in Libra. You know, there's the Chiron, sometimes the Chiron wound in Aries is a wound of not feeling understood or not, just, I am alone. Nobody loves me. I am unusual.
It's a little bit of a pity party.
Yes, that's a very good way of.
I want to say that, but you know what? I don't want to say like get out of here, snap out of your pity party over there. The moon and next to Chiron. Come on, let's go. Venus is in Libra. Let's have some fun, or
And then Venus, right after this, Venus is going to be opposing Chiron.
Okay,
so we'll get an eyeful of, and of course Venus is the feminine, Chiron is the wound, but it's in Aries, which is the masculine.
Yeah.
So part of the other thing we're going to have to deal with as we move into this new paradigm, how men and women, or how the masculine and the feminine align with each other and balance.
Well, we're seeing a really interesting manifestation of that in Iran, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Something to watch. Really send in some power vibes there.
That's right.
I feel so powerful watching those women cut their hair in front of the camera. I do.
It's emotional.
It is. I feel emotional about it because it's such a courageous, brave, amazing act for them to really strip. They can lose everything, right? In solidarity. And they're like, I'm done. You pushed me too far. Right? And they're not hurting anybody. They're not killing anybody. They just want it to stop. Stop. Let me be myself. This is who I am.
The feminine is rising.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next on Moonshine with Ona on her channel. Until then, try to find balance in whichever way you can.
Yeah.
And know that all will be well.
Yeah. It's available.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Take care, everyone. Namaste.